Hello viewers, welcome back to my channel. I am Neha Payani, and in this session we are going to discuss another topic from our accounting for share capital chapter. Actually, this is the fifth video on this chapter. Till my previous videos we have covered topics like introduction of this chapter. Okay, we have discussed whole process of issuing shares, right? Then we have discussed more concepts like calls in arrears, over subscription. We have done problems also on those. Okay, the topic that we are going to discuss today is calls in advance, and we will also do a problem relating to it. Okay, so I am thinking or I'm planning of creating videos on topics. Okay, we are going to solve problems on each topic from this chapter, so it would be easy to understand. So before watching this video, it would be my recommendation to watch the previous videos, understand the process. If you don't know, then you can come back to this video and watch it. Okay, so the video link for previous videos, you'll get it in the description box below or at the end of this particular video. Okay, so keep watching. Now, first of all, let us discuss what is mean by calls in advance. Okay, so we know about calls in arrears from our previous sessions, right? So we know calls in arrears. Suppose a company is issuing certain shares. Okay, assume company is issuing 100 shares at rupees 10 each. So each share price is 10 rupees. So 10 rupees company, we know that it will not ask all the 10 rupees at once. So company will ask, like suppose 3 rupees during application process, 2 rupees during allotment process, and 3 rupees again during first call process, and 2 rupees, remaining 2 rupees during second and final call process. So this is how total share price will be uh, asked or received by the company. Company will never ask all the money, all share price at once. Okay. So now what happens here? So calls in advance means, suppose company is making call during allotment. I mean, company is asking to pay the allotment money, which is 2 rupees. Okay. So in previous session we discussed what is calls in arrear, right? What is calls in arrear? If any shareholder out of these 100 shares, if any shareholder fails to pay any particular amount, like assume Mr. A, he's having 10 shares of our company and he's unable to pay the second allotment process amount. Okay, so that becomes calls in arrear, right? Company asked 2 rupees to be paid to all the shareholders during allotment, but one of the shareholder is unable to pay such amount, is called calls in arrears, correct? Now, what is calls in advance, right? So what happens? There could be some person, like now let's take the example of Mr. B. Okay, Mr. B is having 20 shares of our company. Out of 100, Mr. B is having 20 shares, right? So what Mr. B will do when company will ask for payment of allotment money. Okay, assume when company will ask for payment of allotment money, Mr. B will pay allotment money. Along with that, Mr. B will also pay the first call money during allotment itself. Okay, he will say currently I have excess amount. So during allotment process itself, you can also take the next process amount, which is first call amount. Okay, so totally in total, Mr. B is paying 2 rupees of allotment plus 3 rupees of first call during allotment process itself. This is calls in advance. Okay, so how to do entries for this? Correct? I hope you are clear with the concept up to here, right? If any shareholder is making advance payment before the calls, okay, that is called calls in advance. So let us try to solve a problem on this topic, right? So then you will understand it better. So the question is, Navnirman Limited issued 4 lakh equity shares of rupees 10 each. Okay, so we know first of all the first step is to make the division. So each share price is how much? 10 rupees. Okay, 4 lakh shares are being issued, 4 lakh equity shares are being issued. So 10 rupees is the share price of each share. Okay, payable as follows. So company is asking 3 rupees during application, rupees 2 on allotment, okay, rupees 2 on first call, and rupees 3 on final call. You can say second and final call. Okay, the issue was fully subscribed and the shares allotted fully to all the applicants. Okay, so there was no oversubscription, no undersubscription in this case. Company issued 4 lakh shares and the public subscribed for all the 4 lakh shares. Okay, and the allotment was made. Then all the calls were also made. Then Mahi, a shareholder holding 6,000 shares, paid the final call money along with the first call. Now see, there's a shareholder named Mahi. Out of 4 lakh equity shares of our company, Mahi is the shareholder of 6,000 shares. So for 6,000 shares, Mahi is paying final call money. Final call money is how much? 3 rupees. Right? He is paying final call money along with first call money. So what it means, Mahi is paying first call money along with it. Okay, along with it plus he is also making payment for second call. Okay, this is calls in advance. Correct? We have calls in advance during first call process. Right? Then next, further it's told Sherry, holding 700 shares, did not pay first call on due date. Okay. So there is a one shareholder called Mahi. So he is making advance payment. So we have calls in advance for Mahi, right? Whereas we have another shareholder called Sherry. Okay, Sherry is having 700 shares. So Sherry is not paying, or okay, so Sherry did not pay first call money. So again, there is a calls in arrears during first call process for some shares. Okay, so during first call itself, we have calls in advance also, we have calls in arrears also. Okay, then Sherry paid the first call amount along with the final call. Now see what is happening. So Sherry, we know she did not pay first call amount. There was calls in arrears during first call, correct? But first call money she is paying along with second call. Okay, she was unable to pay it on the due date when the company made first call. Sherry was unable to pay, but later on, Sherry has paid first call money along with second call money. Okay, then they have asked us to prepare necessary journal entries. So I hope question is clear with you all. So in this question, I have tried to cover both the concepts, calls in arrears as well as calls in advance. Okay, so this is a complete problem, right? So we know the process. So first process is application. We need to do two journal entries for application process. Then second process is allotment. Again we need to do two journal entries for allotment, right? Third process is first call. We'll do again two entries, and final process is second and final call. Again, two journal entries. In total, we need to make 8 journal entries. We'll start with application process. Okay. So in application process, what happens? Company is issuing the shares and public are subscribing for the shares of the company. So we need to do two entries. Okay. Fine. So we can change the name here as Navnirman. Okay, Navnirman Limited. Correct. So first entry for application process. We know, so public is applying for the shares of the company. So while applying for the shares, public is making the payment. Public is paying application money, which is 3 rupees per share. So into my bank account, into company's bank account, we are receiving some amount. Okay, people are subscribing or applying for the share, and they are making application money payment, or they are paying application money. So for 4 lakh shares, okay, company is receiving 3 rupees per share. So in total company's bank account, we are receiving 12 lakh rupees. So bank account is debited. Okay, bank account debit to share application account. Okay, see, these entries will never change. If you have seen the previous videos, See, that's why I told you watch the concept video first. In that, all these entries, all the two entries for every process have been explained. The entries will never change, just the number of shares and the share price will change. Okay. First entry in application process is bank account debit to share application account. Okay. You can write the narration being um, application amount for 4 lakh shares at rupees 3 per share received. Okay, so received. So you can put the same amount in the credit side also. In total, for 4 lakh shares, company is receiving 3 rupees per share during application. This is the first entry in application process. So second entry is now company is transferring share application money to share capital account. Okay, so one more thing here, whenever in question it's mentioned that company is issuing equity shares, so you cannot just write the name as to share application account. Okay, you always have to mention it as equity share application account. Okay, so I'll change here now. So to equity share application account. If in question it's given company is issuing preference shares, then you need to mention to preference share application account. Okay, so now here you can change it as equity to equity share application account. Wherever you will be using the word share in the solution or entries, instead of using just the word share, you need to use the word equity share. Okay, so second entry. Now the company is transferring this equity share application amount to equity share capital account, right? So now equity share application amount is debited. Equity share application account is debited to equity share capital account. Okay, all 12 lakh rupees has been transferred to equity share capital account. Okay, you can write the narration being application money or application amount, application money transferred to share or equity share capital account. Clear? These are the two entries for application process. Entry doesn't change. Entries are the basic ones. There's no oversubscription here, no undersubscription, nothing. So the application entries are very basic. Okay. So we have done both the entries for application process. Now, second process is allotment process. Okay. So now public company is allotting the shares to the public, whoever has applied for the shares. Okay. Whoever has subscribed for the shares. Now this general public will become shareholders. When the shares will be allotted to the public, they will become the shareholders of the company. So during allotment, company is asking to pay 2 rupees. Okay, company is asking to pay 2 rupees. Again, we need to do two entries for allotment process. First entry we will do when company is asking to pay, and second entry we will do when the shareholders are making the payment. See what happens. This is a company. These are the shareholders. Okay. Now company is asking to pay 2 rupees during allotment. We are doing entry for asking now. We can call it as a due entry. Okay. So C, entry number C. Now, what is the entry for asking? Again, we have already discussed the entries. So the entry is equity share allotment account debit to equity share capital account. Okay. So yes. Now for 4 lakh shares, company is asking 2 rupees to be paid for every share. Okay. So in total, company is asking to pay 8 lakh rupees during allotment. Okay, write narration B, share allotment money or equity share allotment amount or money for 4 lakh equity shares due. Okay, still the amount is due. Shareholders has not paid the share allotment amount. The amount is due. Okay. So now when company is asking, shareholders has to pay the allotment money to the company. Now when the public, no, the shareholders are paying, so my bank account will be affected. So there is a inflow of cash into my bank account, correct? Now I'll debit my bank account. So bank account is debited to equity share allotment account. Okay, equity share allotment account. So there are no call scenarios during allotment means what? Everybody has paid the allotment amount. Nobody has failed to pay the allotment amount. Okay, so during allotment process, there are no call scenarios, no calls in advance, nothing. Here, so directly company asked to pay 8 lakh rupees and shareholders paid 8 lakh rupees. Okay, write the narration. B, equity share allotment amount received. Okay. Earlier in the first entry, the amount was due. Okay, when company asked you to pay. Now shareholders has paid the money, so it's received now. We have done both the entries for allotment. Here. Now the next process is first call process. Now first call process is a complicated one. Okay. We have calls in advance also in this process. We also have calls in arrears in this process. Okay, so before, again we need to do two entries during first call. So first entry will be again companies asking to pay first call amount. Okay, asking entry or due entry will be very easy. Why? Because company is asking 2 rupees to be paid on 4 lakh shares, correct? Asking or due entry is very easy. Put the entry number E. So equity share first call account debit. Okay, so for 4 lakh shares, company is asking to pay 2 lakh rupees. So, sorry, 2 rupees. Okay, so again, company is in total asking to pay 8 lakh rupees to the shareholders to equity share capital account. This is the entry, correct? 8 lakh rupees. Right narration B, equity share first call amount for 4 lakh shares due. Okay, still amount is due. Company has asked the shareholders to pay the first call money. Okay, now while payment, so now the very important thing is there are two shareholders, Mahi and Sherry. Okay, Mahi is making advance payment of final call money also. Okay, and Sherry is not making the first call payment. Okay, Sherry failed to pay the first call amount. Okay, now how to do the entry? Okay, so see, first let's consider for Mahi, right? While payment, we know our bank account will be affected, correct? So bank account will be affected. Entry number F. Okay, so public are making the payment. So bank account debit. Okay, C. We can first consider as, okay, so see, first let's consider for Sherry. Sherry is having 700 shares. Sherry is unable to pay the first call amount. So out of 4 lakh shares, okay, out of 4 lakh shares, so Sherry could not pay amount for 700 shares. In total, into my bank account, okay, I received amount for how many? For 3 lakh and 99,300 shares. Okay, I could not receive amount for 700 shares. So in total, I received first call amount for 3,99,300 shares. Okay, so come back to the entry for 3,99,300 shares. Company has received 2 rupees during first call. Correct? So what will be the amount here? Okay, 1 second. So the amount will be 7 lakh 98,600 rupees. Okay, this is what company has received the amount for first call. Now, a Mahi, a shareholder who is having 600 shares, 6,000 shares, sorry. Okay, he paid the second call money also uh, during our first call, correct? So that amount also is also inflow into my bank account. Okay, again my bank account is affected with for 6,000 shares. What is the second call money now? Second call money is 3 rupees. Okay, so 6,000 into 3, again company is getting 18,000 rupees for second call during first call, correct? This is also debited. Okay, bank account, both the bank accounts are debited now. So we know that there is a calls in arrears during this process. Sherry did not pay amount for 700 shares, so calls in arrears is my loss. In the previous session we have discussed, we have solved problems on calls in arrears, right? Calls in arrears is my loss, so expenses and losses are always debited. So now we will also debit calls in arrears account. Okay, calls in arrears account is debited. So for 700 shares, there is a calls in arrears at rupees 2. Correct? So 1400 rupees is also debit. Finally, to equity share capital account. No, equity share first call account, sorry. Equity share first call account is credited. Okay, with how much? With 8 lakh rupees. Okay, what was the equity share first call amount? So equity share first call amount was 8 lakh rupees, correct? So we also need to credit calls in advance account. See, calls in arrears was my loss. So we know all the debt, all the expenses and losses are debited. Similarly, we have calls in advance during this process, correct? We have calls in advance during this process. Calls in advance will be the profit for the company, right? So profits or income or revenue will always be credited. So to calls in advance account is also credited. Okay, calls in advance for how many shares? For 6,000 shares into 3 rupees. Okay, again 18,000 rupees. Now if you want to see your entry is correct or not, you can total the debit and credit side amount. It will be same. Okay, I'll explain this entry to you once again. So first of all, there was calls in arrears by Sherry. So into my bank account, I received money only for 3,99,300 shares. Okay, first call money was 2 rupees. So I received 7,98,600 rupees for first call. Okay, so along with first call, Mahi, he who is holding 6,000 shares, he also paid me second call money or second call amount. So that will also uh, affect my bank account. Okay, that is an extra amount received into my bank account during first call. So that account is also debited. Bank account is debited with 6,000 shares. Second call money is 3 rupees. Okay, then so we Sherry was a person who did calls in arrears. The calls in arrears is always debited because it's a loss. So this account is also debited. For 700 shares, Sherry did not pay 2 rupees for every share. So 1400 rupees is debited. Okay, so to equity share first call account is credited. Okay, then with 8 lakh rupees, what is the actual amount of equity share first call? 8 lakh, right? Then similarly, we have calls in advance here again. Calls in advance is my profit. Okay, so profit or incomes or revenues are always credited. We have credited calls in advance account also with 6,000 shares at rupees 3 each, 18,000 rupees. If you total your debit and credit side, the balance here will be same. Okay, I hope it's clear up to here, right? So we need to write the narration here. So narration will be okay. So equity share first call amount received for 3,99,300 shares. Okay, so calls in advance received for 6,000 shares and calls in arrears account for 7,000 shares. You can write the narration like this. Okay, narration you can always write it in your own words, right? So do not worry, but writing a narration is very important. You cannot skip it. Okay, so due to lack of space, I'm not writing it. I've told you. Okay, So next process, our last process is final call process. So during final call, again company will ask to pay 3 rupees to all of its shareholders, right? So company will be asking to pay 3 rupees for every share. Okay, for every shareholder, we'll again do the due entry. Okay, so next G, entry number G is due entry for second call process. So equity share second call process debit. You can write second and final call. Okay, so equity share second call account debit for 4 lakh shares, company is asking to pay 3 rupees. In total, company is asking to pay 12 lakh rupees. Okay, to equity share capital account. This is the basic entry. Due entry will never change. Okay, it is always same 12 lakh rupees. Okay, write the narration. B, equity share second call amount for 4 lakh shares due. Okay, still the amount is due. Company has asked to pay second call money. Okay, now what is happening? So again, during second call, Mahi has already paid the second call amount. Okay, Mahi has already paid the second call amount. So out of 4 lakh shares, now currently we will be receiving money only for, like see, you deduct Mahi's shares. Mahi's shares are how many? 6,000. He has already paid the amount. He will again not pay the second call amount. Currently, company is receiving second call money for 3,94,000 shares. Correct? So into my bank account. So next entry is H into my bank account. I'm receiving money for 3,94,000 shares, rupees 3 per share. Correct? So that will be how much? It will be 11,82,000 rupees. Okay, other than Mahi's shares, everybody else is paying the second call amount. Okay, now Sherry, who failed to pay the first call amount, okay, so now she is paying the first call amount during second call. Right? During first call, she made calls in arrears, but now she is paying her first call money also along with second call. Again, into my bank account, I am receiving some extra amount, right? So again, my bank account is affected. So bank account debit, this is also debit, right? For 700 shares, I am receiving 2 rupees. What is the first call amount? 2 rupees, right? So 2 rupees is the first call amount. So 1400 rupees I am receiving for calls in arrears made by Sherry. During second call, I'm receiving this amount. So bank account is debited. Okay. 2. Equity share second call account debit. Okay. Equity share second call account debit. So now, what is the amount? How much amount we are receiving during second call? 11,82,000 rupees. Right? And then, so we have what is it? We have received this 1400 rupees due to first call. So again, to equity share first call account is also debited. Sorry, credited. To equity share first call account is also credited. This is not debit, sorry. Okay, so to equity share second call account. So from second call, we are receiving 11,82,000 rupees and we are receiving extra 1400 rupees from our first call. So equity share first call account is also credited 1400 rupees. Here, so if you again want to check whether the entry is correct or wrong, you can just total the debit and credit side. Okay, the balance is same here, right? You can write the narration B, second call amount for 3,94,000 shares received. Okay, and for 700 shares, first call amount received. Okay, you can always write the narration in your own words. Here, so this is how we will be doing entries on calls in arrears and calls in advance. Okay, I hope it's clear. So if you are still confused with the entries, I would recommend please watch the concept video, because in that all the process and entries have been discussed. If you do not know the concept and entries, so all this will be not very clear with you. Okay, so try to understand the process and entries first, then you can slowly come up with one by one topic wise questions. Okay, so I hope you all like this video. Okay, if you found it helpful, please hit the like button, also share the video with your friends. Okay, you can ask me doubts through the comment section below. I hope to see you all in my upcoming sessions. Okay, till that, happy learning.